Today we're going to talk about why your vote for president doesn't count. Many people believe that you have to vote or you should vote because it will change who is going to be president or whoever you're voting for, but that is all false. We'll start with the more insane part of the voting process. If you ever watch the voting results at the end for president, you'll see that they'll have a state and then districts in each state. Those districts, based whether or not they're Democratic or Republican, are predetermined years before that vote for that president happens. The way that works is each state has electoral votes, or a handful of people that vote for you in your state, and each of those own certain districts. And on top of that, those same people that are the electric or electoral voters, also known as the Electoral College, are the same people that vote who is going to be in the Electoral College for the next election, along with what districts and what parts inside are a district. So to break it down, your Electoral College people are the ones who decide who's going to stay in the Electoral College to vote and what districts they're voting for. How does that affect you when you vote for Hillary or Trump? Well, when you go to the ballot and you're going to go ahead and vote for Hillary, what's really happening is you're telling your Electoral College that you're voting for Republican. And what they do is they receive that tally up and they should vote based on the majority. So let's say you vote for Hillary and so do a gazillion other people. Let's say 60% of your state votes for Hillary, 40% votes for Trump. Well, that means your Electoral College needs to vote for Hillary because she's the majority leader. So now all the votes for Trump are wasted. Your vote doesn't really count. Why? Because the Electoral College pool are the ones who decide who are they going to vote for, or who's the one that was majority voted for. It may not make sense, but just replay it and you'll understand that you're basically voting for someone in your Electoral College to vote for you, instead of you voting directly for your chosen representative. And on top of it, there's only a certain amount of states that actually make a difference, and those are known as swing states, like Pennsylvania and Florida, and I think two others are primarily the ones. Those are the ones that have the most power to change who's going to win. To give you an example, Wyoming has more power on who's going to be president than California does, because they have more electoral voters than California. And I think the ratio is 5-1. I think California has, one electoral voter and Wyoming has 5. It's based on population. So the smaller states have more power, not the bigger states. So if you live in Wyoming, most likely that one will be a stronger influence on who will win, rather than a huge, famous, well-populated state like California. Doesn't have that much power. I think every state should have an equal amount of power to make it even. Because if you have more people that like you in Wyoming as a Democrat, you're going to win. But it takes more work to win that one vote in California than it does in Wyoming. That's why when you see these presidential candidates do their tours, they go to important states. States that will swing their favor in their way, like Pennsylvania, like Florida. You don't see them go to every single state. They just go to the important states. Which brings me on to the other perspective, that they're not there for your vote. They're there just to win. They should be visiting every state, no matter what. But they don't. They want your vote that will make them win. They're not going to go to Wyoming because they feel like it. They're going there because they know they have more power in Wyoming than they do in California. So they'll make more TV ads in there. It's a business. It isn't a presidency. They're turning it into a business. And I think that's something that everyone should be aware of. Nobody grasps this. They just go, I want my I vote pin. I voted and I made a difference. You didn't. Your electoral college for your state is the one who decided, not you. And that's why I hate this voting system. And it's not our fault. Our founding fathers are the ones that actually designed this. They didn't want the common people to vote because they felt they didn't know what they were going to vote for or how they were going to vote. So they started off with only elite people, people that had land. They were selected to vote. Now let's get into why a person with a felony record, no matter what the charge is, cannot vote. First, let's ask ourselves, do they need to vote? Should they vote? Why can't they vote? Does it matter if a felony votes or not? So whether or not you stole a Twinkie, a cell phone, or robbed a bank, you'll have a felony record. You legally are not allowed to vote or can't vote, which is amazing. To give you a good example of this, there was a guy who went to jail for 11 months for a felony charge. Got out of it, went into school, got his degree, became a lawyer in 2 different states. He still cannot vote. Changed his whole life around for a small little felony. Became a lawyer, pays his taxes, does what he can, and he can't vote because he has a felony record. And why is this? Why do we still have that? It all goes back to the 20s. What happened in the 20s? Well, before the 20s, in the late 1880s, we gave the right, I believe it was the 15th Amendment, to allow blacks to vote. Well, over time, people didn't like that for some reason. So they instituted stating that if you have a felony record, you cannot vote. And what they were doing is when the black would come to cast his vote, they would make up some crime like, you're in the way of people, you're causing a disruption, you're under arrest, you have now a felony record, and you can't vote. That's how that came about. Then, of course, later on down the road, everyone else got to vote, but they kept that concept as if you have a felony record, you can't vote. I think everyone that's been in jail or has a felony record should be able to vote. It's not going to change anything as far as their standpoint, but it's their right to. I mean, come on, you murder somebody or you rob a bank or you steal someone's bicycle. It's a felony. You shouldn't be withheld from the right to vote. You're simply casting a ballot who you want to be president. That should be removed. It makes no sense at all. Why can't they vote? They should be able to. They're a citizen, they pay their taxes. It doesn't care if they're good or bad. It's your right as a citizen to vote. Alright guys, so that was our little educational video for today. I hope you got a little smarter. Maybe depressing, but that's the reality of things.